Hey everybody, welcome to my humble home. Just relaxing here tonight, and I was thinking about a couple different things were kind of heavily weighing on my mind. One of the first things that's really came to my attention, especially in the last year, is the amount of censorship that's happening in our society. Now, people have different views on censorship. Some people are completely opposed to it. They think people have the right to say whatever they want. And other people take another view on censorship, saying that it's okay in some circumstances. If it's information that could harm people, or if it's hateful against groups of people or ethnicities, then that type of information should be censored and banned. But what I've seen lately is an increase, especially on privately owned platforms. And when I say privately owned platforms, I mean platforms such as this, like YouTube, things like Twitter, things like Facebook. Even though these are used by the public in general, they're privately owned. But because so many people use them, you have a large percentage, a majority of the public citizens using these private entities. So what happens is, when these platforms were first set up, people could post and say anything they wanted to. Then they began to censor content. They began to decide what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. Now, a lot of the reasons they censor information is for what they believe in their mind to be good causes. The problem with censorship is, as the people that own these platforms change hands of ownerships, they can decide what they censor. In other words, the people now in control of deciding what's good information and what's bad information in the future will be replaced by a different set of people. Once you set up censorship, you make it available for anyone who takes those reins of power. Now, an example of this is, you can use like a family setting. A mother and a father have a child. Let's use the example of this mother and father being extremely liberal-minded, democratic mindset. Generally, the child will rebel against whatever the parent is. So let's say you got a couple parents that are like, peace, bro, far out like groovy hippies. The child might simply just rebel and pick something completely different than the parents. So the child could go into the military, become extremely conservative, and vice versa. Let's say you have parents that are both very, very strict, very conservative, very religious. Perhaps the kid might go in the complete opposite direction, embrace very liberal democratic views and be completely different than the parents. So what happens through societal changes, people's viewpoints and mindset change. If you use censorship in any form, you lay the foundation for that censorship to be used for evil means in the future. Regardless if we agree or disagree with content people are putting out, we must have open platforms for every side of an argument, whether it's hurtful, hateful, or wrong. What we need to do is put warnings on content that we don't agree with and say parental discretion advised, or this content may include hateful or harmful speech. But when you outright ban entire topics that you disagree with, you lay the foundations for atrocities in the future. In our current society and history, we have a tendency to look back on points in times and organizations that we consider the most hostile and evil in existence. And these have all been political parties. Because in reality, every country, every nation in existence was set up upon violence. As much as the governments and organizations want to be like, we're happy, we're good people for the citizens, the foundations of how they took the reins of power was through combat and warfare. There was not one organization, there was not one country on the planet, from Russia to the United States to Brazil to every country in existence. There's not one country that didn't take those reins of power through violent means. And when you censor and block information, you lay down the foundation for atrocities to happen. You lay down the foundation for groups to be completely silenced. Now, currently in the last year or two, we've had a huge pandemic happen. There's been all kinds of discussions on the pandemic, the virus, and all these different things, and everyone has views on it. But what's happened across all social media platforms, if anybody criticizes the vaccine, the virus, or the pandemic, it's immediately blocked and banned. Millions and millions and millions and millions of videos were pulled off and blocked because they thought it was disinformation or wrong information. But no higher authority should decide what information that people have a right to. And as time goes on, these same foundations that have said that it's okay for private entities to censor information, those can be used for horrible means. Let's say the owners of YouTube turn over the YouTube organizations to their children, and several generations down the road, let's say they have a completely different mindset than the populace now. Well, these people in the future will now be in control of the organizations that have a past record of censoring anything that they feel inappropriate, dangerous, or wrong. Any content that they disagree with that meets their certain criteria can be pulled down. So through censorship, you have laid the foundations for future atrocities, whether you know it or not. Freedom of speech must be universal to every viewpoint in existence. And an intellectual mind must decipher between what is factual and what is fiction. Because when you ban an entire argument, you create a curiosity in the populace to seek out the information that is banned and hidden. What you are doing is creating an underground for information that could not easily be sought through the mainstream channels and organizations. We live in an age of ever-advancing technology. They cannot block the truth. They cannot hide reality from the public and the masses. More and more, we're becoming one connected planet, a unified life force within this earth, on this planet. We're sharing information verbally. We're sharing information through the internet. For everything that's blocked and banned, a new website appears. For every website that's taken down, 10 more appear. It's a great time and a great age we live in. What we need to do is be transparent and open. We need to give everybody a voice to speak their truth, regardless of the fact if we believe it or disagree with it. So in closing, I just want to send everybody best wishes, positive vibrations, and keep speaking your truth, even if the rest of the world disagrees with it. Because courage is standing up for what you believe in right, even when it goes against everyone and everything else in existence. As long as you speak your truth and stand your ground, you'll forever shine with the reality that you've embraced noble causes and noble ideas. Don't censor anything. Whether you agree with it or not, let the truth speak. Hear the words of all and decide what's right and what's wrong. Be well and best wishes.